Good morning, and welcome to our program, Global Views. Today, we're discussing a very important question that many communities are thinking about. Should schools have a dedicated class to teach students about world religions? To help us explore this topic, we have two excellent guests with us today. First, we have Ms. Maria Garcia, a history teacher who has worked with students for over 15 years. She believes this education is necessary for modern students. Welcome, Maria.
Thank you, David. It's a pleasure to be here.
And on the other side of the issue, we have Mr. Tom Williams. Mr. Williams is a lawyer and a parent of two children in the public school system. He believes that religious education is a private matter and should not be the school's responsibility. Welcome to you, Tom.
Thank you for having me.
Our format today is simple. We will begin with opening statements from each guest. Then, we will have a discussion, and finally, each guest will give a closing remark. Let's begin. Ms. Garcia, you believe this class is a good idea. Please tell us why.
Thank you. I want to start by making one thing very clear. Teaching students about religions is not the same as teaching them to be dual religious. The goal of such a class is knowledge and understanding, not conversion or belief. This is an academic subject, just like history or geography. My main reason for supporting this is that it helps to create tolerance and respect. Our societies are more diverse than ever before. In a single classroom, you can find children from many different cultural and religious backgrounds. When children learn why their friend celebrates Diwali or why another classmate fasts during Ramadan, it builds bridges. This knowledge removes fear and suspicion, which often come from simply not knowing. It helps them understand that different traditions are not strange or wrong, just different. This understanding is the foundation of friendship and a peaceful community. My second point is about providing global and historical context. How can we expect students to understand world history, art, literature, or even current events without a basic knowledge of the major religions? Religion has been a powerful force in human history, shaping empires, inspiring incredible art, and influencing legal systems. To ignore this is to give our children an incomplete picture of the world. It's like trying to teach biology without mentioning cells. Finally, a well-designed course on world religions is an excellent way to develop critical thinking skills. Students would learn to compare different worldviews, to see how different cultures answer the big questions of life. They would be encouraged to ask thoughtful questions and to analyze how belief systems are structured. This is a valuable academic exercise that teaches them how to think, not what to think. In short, this is not about pushing a religious agenda. It's about preparing our children to be informed, thoughtful, and respectful citizens of a globalized world.
Thank you, Ms. Garcia, a very clear and passionate opening statement. Now, we turn to Mr. Williams for his perspective. Mr. Williams, please share your opening statement.
Thank you, David. I appreciate Ms. Garcia's perspective, and I agree that tolerance and respect are very important values. However, I strongly believe that a public school classroom is the wrong place to teach about religion. My main argument is simple. Religion is a deeply personal and family matter. The responsibility for a child's moral and spiritual guidance belongs to parents and their chosen community leaders, not to the state or the school system. Schools are there to teach essential neutral subjects like mathematics, science, language, and basic history. These are subjects that prepare students for work and for participation in society in a practical way. When schools enter the territory of religion, they cross a very important line between public education and private family life. Secondly, there are huge practical problems with creating such a class. Who gets to decide which religions are taught? There are thousands of belief systems in the world. If the school creates a curriculum, it will naturally have to choose. Will it only teach the so-called major world religions? If so, what about the hundreds of other religions? This choice immediately creates a hierarchy and can be seen as biased. parents from minority faith groups might feel that their beliefs are being ignored or treated as less important. This can create serious conflict within the community. My third point is about the risk of bias in the classroom. Ms. Garcia says the class can be taught factually, but this is very difficult to do in practice. Teachers are human. Even with the best intentions, their own personal beliefs, or lack of belief, can influence how they present the material. A teacher might accidentally present one religion more positively than another, or they might not have enough knowledge to teach about a certain faith accurately. This could confuse children, or worse, it could unintentionally promote one set of beliefs over the ones they are taught at home. For all these reasons, I believe the safest, most respectful, and most practical approach is to keep our public schools secular. Let families handle religious education in the way they see fit. It is their right and their responsibility.
Thank you both for your opening statements. You have clearly defined the core of this debate. Mr. Williams, I'd like to start the discussion with you. Ms. Garcia makes a strong point about tolerance. In a world that feels increasingly divided, isn't teaching children to understand each other's backgrounds a direct and positive action schools can take?
That's a fair question. Of course, tolerance is absolutely vital. I want my children to be tolerant and respectful, and I believe our schools should promote that. However, I think we're already doing that in ways that are less risky and more appropriate for a public school setting. Tolerance is taught in social studies when we learn about different cultures and societies. It is taught in history when we study the movements of people and the development of nations. It is taught in literature when we read stories from authors with different backgrounds. My concern is that creating a *specific timed class for religion elevates the topic in a way that is not appropriate. It gives religion a special status that I don't believe it should have in a secular institution. Furthermore, it opens a door to potential conflicts at home. Imagine a young child coming home from school and saying, "My teacher told us that in this religion, they believe this, but you and Dad told me that we believe that. Is my teacher wrong, or are you wrong?" This puts the teacher and the parent in opposition. It forces a child to question their family's core beliefs based on a lesson from a teacher who may not share those values. That is not a situation we should be creating. We teach that all people should be respected, and that is enough. We don't need a separate, dedicated class that could cause confusion and conflict.
Ms. Garcia, how would you respond to that? Specifically, the concern that this kind of class could interfere with family beliefs and that tolerance is already being taught.
I understand Mr. Williams' concern, but I believe it's based on a slight misunderstanding of how this subject would be taught. While it is true that religion is sometimes mentioned in history and social studies, it is often in the context of wars, conflicts, or political power. Students might learn about the Crusades or the Reformation, but they learn very little about the peaceful, cultural, and community aspects of these faiths. A dedicated class allows us to focus on culture, celebrations, art, and the shared values that are common to many faiths, such as peace, charity, and community. This provides a much more balanced and positive view than what is typically covered in a standard history class. Regarding the issue of bias and conflict with parents, the key is a well-designed, fact-based curriculum and proper teacher training. We can teach about religion in the same way we teach about other powerful ideas. For example, in school, we teach students about different political systems, like democracy and communism. We explain their history, their structure, and their effects on society without telling students that they must become a Democrat or a communist. We teach Greek mythology without asking students to believe in Zeus and Hera. We can teach about world religions in the same factual, academic, and respectful way. The goal is to inform, not to convert. A properly trained teacher would explain, "This is what Christians believe," or "This is a sacred practice for Muslims," not "This is the truth." It's about presenting information, not about validating one belief over another.
We are now moving to the final part of our debate, the closing statements. Each of you will have a moment to summarize your position. Mr. Williams, let's begin with you.
Thank you. I want to leave the audience with this thought. Our public schools are one of the few places in society where people from every possible background come together on neutral ground. We should protect that neutrality. My core position remains that schools are for academic subjects that are universally applicable, and religion is a subject for the family and the community. Introducing a class on world religions, despite the good intentions, invites too many risks. We risk arguments over which religions get included in the curriculum. We risk teachers, even excellent ones, unintentionally showing bias. And we risk creating conflict between students of different faiths or confusion for children about their own family's beliefs. The best way to respect all beliefs is to give them a special place in our homes, in our churches, mosques, and temples, and in our communities. Let's keep our public schools as a neutral ground for all students to learn and grow together.
Thank you, Mr. Williams. Ms. Garcia, your closing statement.
I believe that in our modern world, ignorance is not neutral ground. It is a source of fear and division. Knowledge builds bridges, and ignorance builds walls. That is the heart of my position. Teaching about world religions is not about telling students what to believe. It is about equipping them with the knowledge to understand the world they live in. The benefits are clear. It promotes respect and empathy. It provides a more complete and honest historical education, and it prepares our students for life and work in a diverse global society. By teaching our children about the world's diverse cultures and beliefs in a structured, academic way, we are not telling them what to think. We are giving them the tools to understand their neighbors, their world, and ultimately to help build a more peaceful and cooperative future for everyone.
Thank you, Ms. Garcia, and thank you, Mr. Williams, for a very respectful and informative debate. You have both presented your cases with great clarity. We have heard two distinct perspectives: the view of religious education as a key part of cultural and historical literacy, and the view of it as a private family matter that should remain outside of public schools. We hope this discussion has given our audience plenty to think about. Thank you for joining us on Global Views.